Joining me now is Geltrude & Company founder Dan Geltrude and the cow guy in my favorite suit on television, Scott Shellady. I always love to see it. You're outdressing me today. So Scott, I'm going to start with you. We had that PCE number. It came in hotter than expected, but it kind of feels like, well, it's not as bad as it could have been, especially after we saw the huge miss on GDP, hotter than expected inflation numbers. So tell me, the market seemed to be shrugging all this off. Is this just kind of the beauty of low expectations?
I think it's more of the short-term sugar of decent earnings. I think that what we saw yesterday was a shock. The market at its worst was off 750 points-ish. And I think that part of me thought it was warranted because, make no mistake about it, we've been spending trillions of dollars to stave off this recession. That's the bottom line. We've got the government's, our economy is like this plates spinning on all those little sticks on your old, a variety show back in the 70s. And I think yesterday we had a couple of plates fall off those sticks and shatter. We've got an economy that's now slowing. Our GDP number reflected a consumer slowdown as far as spending. And also the good news was the government had stopped, or at least lowered its spending. But I've said a long time on my network here, on our show here, our consumer is emulating the government. We're both spending on this doom loop spending like there's no tomorrow. And maybe we just got to the point where we're getting sick and tired of spending other people's money. I think if you see a slowdown in the economy, which that number showed, and you still have an uptick in inflation, which yesterday's number showed, and today's number showed, there is no way around that. We can have all the band-aids you want. You can be excited about $2 trillion companies. You can be excited about earnings beats and the likes and AI. I think there's going to be a lot of productivity with AI. I agree. I want to buy some more myself. But you can't you can't ignore the fact that if there is truly a slowing economy with steady stubborn inflation, that is not a good scenario.
It's definitely not a good scenario, Scott. And I just want to jump on one thing that you mentioned, this consumer spending piece. I want to bring you in, Dan, because I was looking, and I think you really are, to Scott's point, seeing that disconnect in this report between what's going on with the markets, earnings, great companies, yet we're really seeing that Main Street disconnect. And there was a consumer spending number. It was up 0.8% versus wages gaining only 0.5%. So, Dan, what's your read on that, and how do you think that's going to impact companies as we go into the second quarter earnings?
Well, that's been the story all along, that you have inflation rising faster than wages. And that's where the shortfall happens. And that's why so many Americans are taking on personal debt vis-a-vis credit cards. That's why we have more credit card debt than we've ever had before. Now, what does that mean for companies? Well, Americans are certainly still spending, regardless of the fact that it's on borrowed money. So even though we are seeing a slowdown, if people weren't borrowing so much, we would actually be in a stagflation situation because you would really have the economy slowing. So to me, everything that's happening in the economy is still a sugar high because it's all debt financed, and that's how people are spending. It's not going to work long term, and obviously that's what Scott is saying, and I'm in agreement with him.